For unknown reasons, the people who own the copyright for Divergent choose not to protect it very well, and the movie's easily available online. So let's review Divergent. The movie begins with opening narration telling us that the movie will take place in a walled city that has factions, smart people, the judicial, always tell the truth people, the farmers, the warriors slash security force, and our main character's faction, which is kind of like social workers that just help the poor and run the government. Both our main character, Beatrice, and her brother have reached the age where they take a test that will suggest to them which faction they truly belong in. And then there will be a ceremony where they get to choose. 95% of people go into the faction of where their parents were born. You know, genetics and stuff. She takes the test and the results are inconclusive. She qualifies for several different factions. She's told never tell anybody about this. She's divergent, and the government will never allow her to live like that, so to just lie and say she was placed in her birth faction. She doesn't do this. She chooses the warrior faction, her brother chooses the smart people faction, and her parents are basically left looking like fools who can't control their own family and lose control of the government for their faction that the smart people are trying to take over. A bunch of training montages and meeting basically non-essential characters ensue afterwards, where she grows into her own skin and tries to become the badass that she knows she's meant to be and stop the government from being evil. I really did not enjoy this movie. Maybe it's because I watched too much sci-fi and I recognized most of the plot points as they were happening from other things. This is a not very modernized version of Brave New World, which has been parodied and redone and remade for anthology series for 100 years nearly. But there's also so much wrong with it. When I first saw the casting, everyone was freaking out that Ansel Elgort and Shailene Woodley were playing brother and sister in this one, then love interest in The Fault in Our Stars, movie I did like. But he's barely in this movie. He's in 4 scenes, maybe has 10 lines of dialogue. His character is so underdeveloped that you barely even know they're brother and sister. He could have just been anybody. The other characters never really get much of a storyline. When people die, you don't care because they weren't in enough of the story. It's way too much focused around her. Also, the wall is never explained further than, well, there's a reason why we built the wall. She's nearly 20 years old and has never even heard a story of the city being attacked. Has no idea why there's a need for the wall. Anything would have been helpful. A little plume of dust in the background while they're standing on top of it. An explosion, even a little creature running by. Anything would have been helpful to convey that there's a danger outside. But other than the fact that there's a wall, there's no reason ever given for why they're in danger. They also make a big deal that her test didn't go as normal, but we're never shown what normal is. We're never shown what the selection test is supposed to look like. It would have been nice to have any idea what went wrong. They fix it a little bit with the second test. They have like a final exam where you have to face your fears, and we see her version of the test, verse 4. That's her love interest, sort of, kind of guy. That storyline doesn't go many places other than he's not mean to her, so he's her love interest. But we see her version versus his, and that part's done right. But the original selection story, the important part of what makes her divergent, is never explained. Also, what Divergent really is and why it's dangerous isn't told to us till an hour and 40 minutes into the movie. Overall, the entire story just seemed incomplete and unfinished, and there just wasn't enough there for a full movie for me. I know part of that is because it is unfinished and incomplete. There's more books and more stories still to be told, but I don't have the movies in front of me yet, so I can only judge what I was given, and I was given an incomplete story. Thank you for watching, and as always, I shall try to do better next time. Link in the description to watch the movie if you want to. And as a bonus, here's a clip from the end of a 1980s Twilight Zone episode with the same plots based on a short story from 1956.
Your son, Richard Jordan Jr., has completed the government examination, and the results have been analyzed. We regret to inform you your son's intelligence quotient has exceeded the government standard according to Rule 84, Section 5 of the new code. You may specify now whether you wish his body interred by the government or would you prefer a private burial.